And welcome to another edition of the Boy the Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P-Bush. How are you fellas doing?
That was a beautiful week for football, man. Just locked myself in 2 out of 3 leagues, man, into the playoffs. Got some nice little money in daily fantasy for football this week. And the Bears dub, Zoo, I told you it was a bad bet last week, man. I tried to tell
you. It was
you.
an awful bet.
Tried to warn you. Tried to warn you, man. Jared Goff outdoors. That ain't all it, man. Luckily, he's indoors for the last 4 games of the season, man. Lions really need to get themselves back on track.
Man, all I got to say is I'm ready for fantasy football playoffs. Last week, football. Intense, real intense, fighting for those seedings, those bye weeks, trying to survive. Yeah. Unfortunately, the league I care about most, I'm officially in the consolation bracket where I'm probably going to be dropping 150 for no reason, man.
Yep.
I'm in the losers bracket for a bunch of losers, man. A bunch of loser-ass teams. I'll be back next year, cuz.
Yeah, with a vengeance.
With a vengeance. I said that this year. My team put up some buckets, but the Lady Luck was a little against me this year, man. I got to say, Lady Luck had the highest points against. I just got to put it out there. I had the highest points against.
Please, here come the please.
Here you go.
Man. That's all I gotta say. That points against got a little too crazy this year. It got a little too crazy, but if they want to do that to me, I guess I just got to drop 150, 160 a week, man.
Yeah, well, when it doesn't matter.
I score every single week. I've done that 4 times this season. I guess I got to do that 8 times to guarantee a playoff spot.
Yes, sir.
I guess I just got to do that. Drop 150, 160 a week, but I'm okay because got a couple other leagues where my team's in good shape
right now. Just let him vent.
No. I got some teams that are still alive and ready in the hunt, championship contenders. So I'll make it up in those leagues.
Those triple wide receiver leagues, man.
A new draft strategy is, listen, for anybody who watches this podcast religiously, a new draft, I don't care what Zoo's saying, a new draft strategy is coming. He may not implement it in all his leagues, but I think in this home, or I guess this is a home league you guys are talking about, there might be a new strategy coming because he's like you say, coming back with vengeance. A new strategy is coming, and it might not involve running backs. I'll just let you guys know. I'll just let you guys know that right now. But for me, you know what kind of is whack? Like, just because of pride, because in one of my leagues, I was telling the guys, like in the 14-team league, I came in 8th, and, there's only 7 teams that make the playoff. I'm going to still play, like, regular and set my lineups, but it does suck being in the consolation bracket, and it's kind of almost like you just don't want to play anymore. It's like, what is the point? You're not going to play. You're not. There is, like, what are you going to say to, like, it's like, oh, like, man, it's like I got 8th or 9th, and like, who cares at that point? So the consolation is kind of just cruel for some people, but hey, I guess it's just a way to be like, hey, I can still play and be involved. So, like I said, in my other leagues, I'm in the playoffs, so we'll see how we do there. But right now, we're going to start definitely with the NBA. If you guys have been following the NBA, because I know it's tough during the NFL season, they have this new thing called the in-season tournament, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people were skeptical at first because even though the play-in did well, it's kind of like, with the funky courts and the jerseys and things like that, people were a little bit slow to, I guess, grasp on to what the NBA is really trying to do. But once it got to Vegas and kind of a couple of the games following up, I guess, before Vegas were pretty competitive. And I just wanted to get the guys' thoughts on what they thought about the in-season tournament, the final, and maybe some improvements or things they didn't like. And P-Bush, I'll start with you.
Man, I just got a shout out. In hindsight, I agree with you, Sean. I think at the beginning I was like, what really is this? Is this just kind of a money grab ploy? Just to kind of get some more media traction during NFL season to kind of offset some of the loss of viewership there. But I gotta give props to Adam Silver, man. He added something completely new to an American sports league, which, if you think about it, no other league really does this. I would say the closest thing was maybe the shot clock in baseball being as big of a change to the sport. This really revitalized the November-December kind of lull of the NBA during NFL season, where a lot of people really aren't watching. Maybe the players are just kind of coasting, getting their feet underneath themselves at the beginning of the season. And he's saying, nah, you guys all have a chance to win $500,000 each, $200,000 as runners up, and you could still make money as the top 4 team. So I just have to props for the strategy, the idea, and the implementation. I would say the courts are a little weird, like you said, Sean. I mean, just kind of seeing it. I don't really think they need to separate it that much. But I guess they want a clear, distinct, visual, right, to show that this is different from everything else. And I do think the Vegas incorporation did help that as well once we kind of got into the quarters and semis and all that. But man, Tyrese Halliburton, Zoo, you talk about him all the time, man. This kid is the real deal. They had a kind of a tough game in the final, but he put up 20 and 11. This kid just gets a double-double in that semifinal, Zoo, against the Bucks. What do you have, 27 and 15 or something like that? Just this man's he's coming out here looking like Rondo that can score and shoot, man. I mean, he moves the ball well. In that final, though, Anthony Davis absolutely dominated Miles Turner. I mean, 41 and 20 in the final. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Obviously, we know this is a little bit of a quote-unquote NBA script here, Sean. They had to give the tourney MVP to LeBron James so they can name the award after him, for years.
Oh, no. Dude, he's the most valuable player on the Lakers.
Exactly. But when you drop 40 and 20, man, that's kind of tough.
It's for the entire tournament.
I know.
It's not for one game. We got to put the facts out there.
I agree.
It's not for the one game.
30
AD would have won that.
He had 30.
Entire tournament.
I know. But I'm just saying, it kind of fits.
It doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt that LeBron,
Yeah, the fact LeBron, what were they going to name it after? The Tyrese Halliburton Award? Like, come on, man. Like, let's be honest. If LeBron hadn't won, they probably would have called it like the Michael Jordan in-season tournament. But hell, he never played it, so you can't. This is the only one was maybe Steph Curry. Steph Curry could potentially have done that. But it did kind of fit nicely that the NBA got the Lakers in the final, and they got to handle a young up-and-coming team who is extremely hot right now. I'm sure we'll get into the NBA in the next couple months as the NFL winds down. But the Pacers are looking pretty damn good, man. Benedict Mathurin, nice young piece that they got there. Obviously, we know what Buddy Hield can do from outside the arc at some point. But, overall the tournament, I thought it was great. I thought it was a cool idea. I've heard talks of that they're going to do a little bit of an expansion potentially, looking to open up some changes for just to make it improved. I mean, this is the first year they did it, and I would say that it was a resounding success. So from what I heard from NBA execs too, just on reading up on it today, the viewership was insane for this. And it was worth it because the games were actually playoff level.
The finals had 4 million views, and that was the highest viewed game outside of a Christmas game. So
there you go.
For a regular season game,
in
impressive.
Early December, just kind of in between holidays.
Season. Yeah, football season. Yeah.
So yeah,
totally focus on NBA.
It was entertaining.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially it's like a little sneak peek of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you see the elevated in defense, you see more physicality in these games, and just like the money motivation, like $500,000, that's a motivation. Especially if you're a bench dude that's maybe getting paid $1 to $2 million. Imagine like you get an eighth of your check in one game, pretty much. So there's a lot of motivation. And Adam Silver, man, I liked how he pushed his idea and implemented it. The one thing I had to really get used to was the funky courts. Sometimes a little ugly looking, a little distracting, a little too much red, or just like I know what they're trying to do with the courts, making it this is in season, but I feel like in the future they could design the courts a little more to be more aesthetically pleasing in the background. Like I heard they like imagine like a Louis Vuitton background or something. They partner up with like partner with the brand.
No, the sponsors are coming.
Yeah, have a nice sponsor and have it like a nice aesthetically looking like cool. Because some of them they just bought ugly. Like some of them were just like they went to like paint and just like drew a court because they were like I don't know what design they got, but some of them were extremely ugly. But the execution, I loved it. Playoff atmosphere. Of course, my Bulls were like 1-0 for 5. Absolute embarrassment. Just embarrassing. Like. My goodness, Zach LaVine, Jesus Christ. Absolute embarrassment.
Keep him off the court.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Keep him off the court, man. Ship him to LA. But Adam Silver executed. The players bought in, and especially you got the face of the league buying in LeBron James because he clearly wanted this to add it to his resume of his accolades. I know you're giving that look, man. But LeBron James trying to make a GOAT conversation, so you got to get accolades.
He made it a cute story. That's what he did with this.
Oh, geez, stop it. Stop. These were single-game elimination games, and LeBron James shot 60% in the in-season tournament.
No, he's on fire right now.
So he was feeling himself on his three-point shot. He's a very streaky shooter, but in the in-season tournament, when it's pretty much single-game elimination, he showed out, man. He showed out. And one thing you got to say, Brown, he shows out in single-game elimination games, man. So Obviously, the Lakers dominated. Like when the Pacers, you know me, it's a cute story, man. Like there was no doubt in my mind that the Pacers were going to lose after. Not gonna lie, beating the Celtics and the Bucks. Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's very impressive.
Curious.
That's extremely impressive. Like especially the Celtics. I think the Celtics had looked a lot better than the Bucks this season. Bucks has still getting their chemistry like figured out right now. So beating the Celtics, I was like, okay, this is hella impressive because as you said, Tyrese Halliburton, man. This dude is putting up 26 points, 12 assists, man. And he's shooting over 50%. He's shooting over 40% from three. He's on pace for a 50-40-90 season while putting up 20 and 10. This guy's like a modern day Jason Kidd / Steve Nash out there. He is pushing the pace, running a pretty much
better scorer.
Yeah. Oh, way better scorer. Put up 26 a game. And he's got range. Like the shot is ugly. But Jesus, like those step back threes he's hitting, man, are incredible. He has unlimited range. He's pretty much what LeVar Ball promised Lonzo Ball was going to be.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like that's pretty much what he is because he doesn't have Lonzo's defense, but offensively pushing the pace, passing it up to his guys, creating for his players, and being the primary ball handler without committing turnovers. Like this dude had a pace where he dropped 28 assists with 0 turnover. That's actually unheard of. Like you go guys like Magic Johnson, LeBron James, these guys get a bunch of assists, but they get a lot of turnovers. But that ability to dish without turning the ball over was extremely big. And obviously in the finals, he got hit with the turnover while throwing an alley-oop when Brown stole the ball. But this guy's a superstar. The Indiana Pacers are actually relevant now. And a lot of teams got to make apologies to their owners of not drafting this guy. Like I saw Bob Myers on ESPN apologizing, like, I just messed up, man. I just messed up. He took bum ass James Wiseman. Yeah, AK, I need an apology. I want a sorry to the Bulls fans. Our biggest issue, no point guard. And you got this guy just dominating at unbelievable level. And like
to be fair, Zoo,
this guy might make first team All NBA.
Yeah,
I think it might be a
first
lot.
team All NBA. Like it's gonna be tough because you got Steph and Luka Doncic, and Shea. So first or second team, I think he's guaranteed.
It's going to come down to record, probably.
Yeah, it's probably come down to record, but his raw numbers.
He might get it over Steph then if it comes down to record. Like, we'll see. But
Steph's not even in.
I just don't see how Steph could get left off. I mean, first, I don't know. It's a lot of that All NBA. Like, as long as you get to All NBA, it doesn't really matter. I guess contract wise, but bonuses, like Steph, I don't think they'll give him like. I just can't see Halliburton getting first team over Steph. That would be.
But 26.
You talk about a jump, like oof.
They'd have to finish as a top 4 seed in the East, I think, for that to happen.
Yeah, but if Steph misses the playoffs, you gotta knock him a little, just a little. I love Steph, but you gotta knock him a little. So Tyrese Halliburton, this guy, we're watching a superstar in the making, and this season is the year of jumps because there is no dominant team in the NBA. Even the so-called super teams. Not impressive at all, even though they have multiple all-stars on the team. The young guys have showed up, and we got a lot of surprise teams right now. So I'm extremely excited.
Timberwolves.
Oh yeah, dude.
Really
I'm not the biggest Rudy Gobert fan, but he's balling. he's absolutely.
Hey, I love when Zoo gives him credit,
dude. He's out there on the 3-point line, digging up, recovering. I was like, what the heck's going on with Rudy Gobert, man? Like,
Carl Towns is playing his role too. Dude, he's accepted he's the second guy, not the first. Oh yeah,
and I think Ant-Man is the alpha dog. Like he's got Mike Conley and Jaden McDaniels like playing defense. Like it's one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. So the NBA is officially wide open, very similar to the NFL this year. I would say because there is no dominant team. I'm not impressed with the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns. Banged up like always with like let's go. Bradley Beal just never.
They're supposed to get the 3 guys tonight, and then
those super
KD's
teams,
out.
So. Just like everyone's injured, and then obviously the Lakers are old. Like even Denver Nuggets been a little banged up too with Jamal Murray in and out of the lineup. So there's a lot of injuries, but these young teams, OKC, the Thunder, the Pacers, a lot of excitement coming out of the NBA right now. So league is as balanced as I can remember. Last year was balanced. This year is also very balanced.
Not one of those teams other than the Rudy Gobert trade made a massive deal, man. There you go. They just built their talent, Sam Presti, man. Absolute GM, man. They're second in the West right now. Something like that. Second, third?
I think so.
The Thunder.
That is insane. They are second in the West.
Yeah.
Oh my!
And the West is stacked, man. I mean,
Chet has also been a
Chet's been awesome.
Major. Like people were thinking he'd be a little rusty because he didn't play at all his rookie year, but he came in swinging, and he's definitely a guy who's their second best player. And I think he could ultimately probably be their best player just because of his size alone. Because I love Shea, but you're a 7-footer and can do what Chet does. It makes you a little bit more of a unicorn. But yeah, I agree with everything you guys said, especially with Halliburton and his step. And not to, like, I guess, sidetrack us, but I was looking at some of the early All-Star like projections. Scotty Barnes is like being projected as a starter.
What?
Yeah, he's being projected as a starter, and that's kind of. And I was looking kind of his stats because I didn't know he was pretty bad last year.
Yeah,
not bad, but like he wasn't like what he was his rookie year. But like this year, his stat, I couldn't remember what his stats was this year, but they're not.
He's averaging 20 this
that bad. Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the Eastern Conference, but like Scotty Barnes taking that leap is kind of
the West is a lot tighter.
It's interesting because I still feel like there should be a forward that should be better than him. But anyways, yeah, man, I think this platform of the in-season tournament going forward, what I think is going to be cool is guys like Halliburton, guys like, incoming rookies, whoever you want to call it, could be just like a showcase, a stage for them to show out. Because I kind of wonder, like, you see the Suns, like the Lakers won it this year, but you see the Suns, I don't know, older teams, maybe the Heat, maybe Philly in the future, maybe they won't take it as serious. I know it's $500,000, but sometimes older players are too cool for school, and maybe it incentivizes teams like Orlando or OKC to get there. And we're NBA fans, so we know who these people are. But then, like you said, because I'm pretty sure that game was on like ABC on like a Saturday night, so like it'll be broadcasted to a wider audience, and then maybe you'll see a guy like Tyrese Halliburton. Because I was seeing a story where they were talking about, I think last year or maybe earlier this year, Halliburton was in like baggage claim, and like nobody was bothering him because they didn't know who he was. Like, I mean, you probably see a bunch of 6'5", 6'6" guys. Yeah, it's over for that. And you see a lot of probably 6'5", 6'6" guys walking around the airport, but you just, some faces are more recognizable. But now Halliburton, people are going to recognize him. And I think this could be more just of a platform for younger players to showcase what they are. The only thing I'm interested in is, 2 points I was thinking of. I wonder if it's always going to be in Vegas, especially with them potentially getting a team there. Like, I wonder if that would create maybe a home court advantage. I don't know, maybe if they would rotate to different arenas that not are NBA focused, but like, because I know there's other arenas in the United States that don't have an NBA team, but maybe they move it around. Because I kind of do also think it's more of an advantage for the people who live out on the West Coast, because it's just like it's a shorter trip. If you're a Lakers or a Kings fan or a Golden State fan, that's just a hop and a skip versus, like, say if the Charlotte Hornets got there one year, I mean, that's a cross-country flight, and nobody's probably going. Like, but I'm thinking to myself, like, it might be tough for teams on the East Coast to get there. And also, too, the ratings, I know it was great this year, is new, but it was also LeBron and the Lakers. That's a big deal. I wonder what the ratings would be if it was Indiana versus, again, Charlotte. Like, how many people are going to be tuned in watching it? I think there'll be a lot of teams, but I don't think it will be as high because LeBron and Lakers is a cheat code. That's like the Dallas Cowboys if they make the Super Bowl. That's going to be the most watched Super Bowl. Respect to the Commanders, respect to the Lions if they make the Super Bowl. I mean, the Commanders ain't make the Super Bowl, but like whoever makes Super Bowl this year, if the Cowboys make it, it's going to break massive records.
It's like when
they're America's team. Yeah, same thing. Like Tom Brady with his, pursuit of winning 7 rings. Like, the Lakers and LeBron is a cheat code. So I kind of wonder what the ratings are going to be if, say, lesser tier teams make it to the finals. Because I think that's going to be more of the norm. I think it's going to be more teams that are younger and more competitive. Because I don't know if a bunch of established stars are going to care that much. You said what?
They're going for that bonus at like 23, 24, not 38, and making damn near $1 billion as your net worth, like LeBron. But he's still
like, I think LeBron, like, it's something too. Like, I kind of figured once they got into a tournament, he was going to win because he wants to be the first. But after this, I guarantee LeBron's not going to. I don't think he's still going to be playing, but like he probably is not going to be as incentivized because it's like he already won it. He proved he was the first one, and I think teams like Orlando, Charlotte, if they ever get their thing together, Miami maybe, like Knicks, it'll be other younger up and coming teams, the Kings. They're going to want to prove, hey, we're one of the better teams, and it's $500,000. So I think there's going to be more teams like Sacramento versus Miami or Charlotte versus Indiana, whoever. Like, it's going to be lesser teams. So I wonder if that affects the ratings a little bit, because I think it will. Because the Lakers, like I said, this year is it was a perfect storm. You got LeBron, you got the Lakers, and you got the first ever. So it's like the ratings are going to be insane.
People are going to curious, just tune in.
Yeah. But like I say, if Steph were to make it next year, people will tune in still. I think the numbers will still be great. But
of course,
otherwise
it's just kind of like just a prime time NBA regular season game. Kind of like the Bulls Heat games back in the day, Zoo. Those got a lot of viewership because it was a good rivalry, right?
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah. Over
good old days, huh?
Over a decade.
Bulls and Heat on NBC, huh? Oh man, shout out to NBC.
You remembers those Sunday at 3 p.m. games, man? Those were great.
Good old
Bulls
days.
usually won those when it didn't matter.
Oh man, Lou all day in the corner three. Come on now. Still remember those making a splash.
Ronnie Brewer with his elbow out, man. Come on.
Oh God, good old days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think to wrap it up, the in-season tournament was a success this year, and I think it's really cool that.
Did you guys hear about this? Did you guys hear about the in-season tournament might guarantee a playoff spot in the future?
I don't know if I'm with that. I saw that. I'm not with that. That's tough.
That's kind of brutal.
Now that would make it. Now my whole point
I feel like
what I just said goes out the window if that ends up happening. Like they're all going to be competitive as hell because
be insane. Imagine you just get guaranteed, I don't know, the 8th seed or something.
And if you finish better, how does that work?
You just get what
you just get in.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Unless
now the contract's coming up, right? Like the NBA contract, the TV contract.
TV.
I would not be surprised if whoever's bidding for it has that in their negotiating. Like, hey, NBC or whoever's bidding for it is like, hey, Adam, I love the contract. We'll X amount of dollars. We'll give you the billion, whatever. We'll give you the Billy. But I need you to guarantee a playoff spot because we want this more. Because they're probably thinking like, hey, if freaking Sacramento and Charlotte comes, like, we're gonna need more on the line than $500K. Like, we're gonna need if it's a guaranteed playoff spot, I think that brings in a crap load of viewers. Because then it's like, if you're a regular fan that's a Kings fan or a Hornets fan, you're like, oh my God, like if we win, we got a playoff spot. So then it's just like, that is interesting because I just don't know how they could pull that off. I just don't.
I would just say it has to be a low seed. Like you can't be guaranteed like a high seed. Like,
what about a play-in spot? Just guarantee a play-in.
Or maybe a play-in.
Yeah, maybe a play-in.
That's more doable. I could do that. More play-in. But yeah,
they've been making a ton of changes since COVID, man. I think the bubble opened their eyes to like the opportunities they could make to just improve the NBA and like the regular season, because you guys remember how watched that bubble tournament was when the Suns won like 8 in a row to get back in the playoffs. There was a lot of eyeballs on that. Now, granted, it was one of the first sports to come back, so take it with a grain of salt. But still, I don't know. I just kind of see not similarities, but just cultural similarities maybe, and just kind of how people are viewing the NBA as having a little bit of a just a newer look.
Really quick, do you think they could? This probably couldn't happen because it's not a guarantee that whoever won the in-season tournament will be the number 1 seed. But what if it was something like if you win the in-season tournament, you get to pick your first round opponent if you make the playoffs?
Oh man,
they probably couldn't do that because if it was like a 5th seed, that wouldn't be fair. I feel like, but I don't know. That would be something intriguing.
See, if there was a bye, if there was a bye in the NBA playoffs or something like that,
I don't know about it. They'll never go for the bye.
No, they'd never go for a bye
based on games played and their TV deals. So I don't think I'll ever. That's why
TV is not.
That's why like the 7-game series. I don't think they'll ever go back down to 5-game series for like the first couple rounds.
Too much money, man.
Too much revenue. Even though
now the only thing is if the analytics just start pointing at that most series in the first round don't go longer than 5 games. That is the only thing you'd have to consider.
I kind of like a 5-game series in the first round. It has more
first round.
Adds more volatility.
You can take that from the MLB Zoo. It just gets longer as you go on in the playoffs. I actually think that is a good metric. Like wild card, best of 3, right? And then you go into the divisional, which is 5, and then everything else. The championship in World Series is 7.
How all of these sports are trending, even in like college football, because they're going to a 12-team playoff. Everything is about getting as many games as they can and more.
Yeah, for money.
Like you say, NCAA is going to basically be NFL in like probably 5 to 10 years. So honestly, everything is trending towards let's get as many commercials, ads, which is the same thing, and games on people's TV screen as much as possible, as often as possible. So we'll
it's
see.
All
But
money.
yeah, in-season tournament was cool. Yeah, it's all about money. But transitioning into fantasy football, as most people see, it is fantasy football playoffs, and for a lot of people, you're either on one side of making the playoffs in some of your leagues, and you are kind of sitting at home and you're just kind of pondering what your strategy is going to be for next year. But I kind of wanted to get into some of the accolades of what we thought was important during the fantasy season. And we kind of wanted to start off with some of the fantasy, I guess you say we can start with league winners as one of them. Zoo, I'm going to let you start.
League winners, man. Not gonna lie, this year a lot of value later in the later rounds this year. From the fourth, I would say that sweet spot, that 4 to 6 range. That's when you gotta be like, okay, these guys might be falling this year, even though they don't deserve to fall. It's one of my favorite players ever in football. My boy, Big Mike Evans, man. Mr. 1,000 yards, baby. Not gonna lie, kind of called it. I remember saying he was going kind of late, and I was like, this is just kind of weird. This is just kind of weird. Mike Evans, all he does is get 1,000 yards. And this year, he had one of his best seasons ever because the season's not even over yet. And the dude has 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns with Baker Mayfield. This year.
Hey, don't hate on Baker, man.
Yeah, I know I ain't hating on Baker Mayfield, but he went from Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, sure.
To Baker Mayfield.
He's used to it, Zoo.
And he's
played with Josh Freeman.
Yeah, he played with Josh Freeman.
And
he played with Jameis Winston. And all the guy just gets 1,000 yards. And this year, I think it's one of its better years because of the touchdown production. Because as a deep threat, as a red zone threat, he's been Baker Mayfield's best and favorite target. Chris Godwin has been a complete afterthought, even though this guy usage under the Tom Brady-led offense was pretty effective.
Like, those dink and dunks, man.
Yeah, the dink and dunks. He would get a lot of catches, a lot of targets, a lot of receptions, and get his yards like 1,000 yards. But with Baker Mayfield at the helm, Mike Evans, man, like if you got this guy in I would say the 4 to 7 range, which was I would say the range of outcomes in most drafts that you could have got Mike Evans at, you got a wide receiver 1 at a wide receiver 2 to 3 value. And and this guy was putting.
He went 7th, Zoo, in our league. Yeah. 7th round.
7th. Oh, Jesus. What was I smoking? Jesus Christ, man. What was I smoking, man? I don't even know how I passed up on this brother so many times. But Mike Evans, man, his production doesn't surprise me. The only thing was his age, but I feel like the wide receiver position that age competition doesn't hit them as bad as the running back position because of the aggressiveness. But I got to shout out Mike Evans' career. He's put up a Hall of Fame career, and he's put up a Hall of Fame fantasy football career because the guy just does the same thing every year. Like 1,000 yards, range from 5 to 10 to 15 touchdowns. Like that's what Mike Evans does. Like that's what he does every single year. Consistency, even without a contract, too. Like he didn't get that contract extension.
He's playing for it.
Yeah, for him to ball out without a contract right now for this Tampa Bay team. I got shout out to Mike Evans, man. If anyone drafted Mike Evans this year, you're a happy fantasy footballer this year.
Well,
he's put out wide receiver 1 numbers.
Definitely happy I got him.
Like 14 to 15 points, half point PPR from round 4 to 7 guy. That is awesome. That is awesome.
There's a lot to choose from this year for league winners, too. I mean, I was looking through our draft, and there was one guy, and for a position that has been brutal this year at running back, whether coaching issues, injuries, just poor play, inconsistency. Kyren Williams, man, undrafted in most leagues. He was. I was looking at it too. He was bid just after week 1 because no one knew the start Cam Akers stuff.
The Cam Akers. Yeah.
Kyren, if you added Kyren Williams off of your waiver wire, he went for $50 in our auction, Zoo. $50. That's it. This man, now granted, he did miss 4 games.
He missed a lot of games, though.
4 games. He still has 110 total yards per game, 10 total touchdowns, and he's only played 9 games.
That's absurd.
Now, here's the thing. The 3 leagues that I'm in, the number 1 seed in all of them, they all have Kyren Williams. Because if you messed up and maybe you went wide receiver, or maybe you took a fluke running back, like maybe Derrick Henry or Austin Eckler, and you were able to pick this guy up, man, he is difference making because he's coming in at RB7 and he was undrafted in most leagues, man. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's a difference maker on your team.
That's a good stat. He's on the number 1 seed. I just checked 2 of my leagues. The number 1 seed has Kyren Williams.
There you go, man.
I just checked 2 of them. So there's a very high correlation with Kyren Williams.
Yep.
Teams have
now, obviously, they probably also had damn good drafts, but you can actually point to a guy I might talk about a little later. The guy in our league who's first seed, his first round pick was Devontae Adams, not doing well this year. And Kyren Williams propelled him to go 10-4. So, I mean, or 10-3 or whatever it is. So he's a guy that really stood out to me in an offense that has struggled at times. And actually the Rams, you can see, they started to kind of make a little bit of a comeback, but they got a little stifled there when Kyren Williams got hurt because they just couldn't rely on Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman, man. Jesus, I can't believe I even started those guys a couple weeks. So, yeah, Kyren Williams
Darrell Williams,
winner.
Oh, was it Darrell Williams? Darrell Henderson.
Darrell Henderson.
He was clutch for me in a couple of flexes. He
was all right.
If he got a touchdown, he'll get you 10-11, but he ain't getting much more than that. Yep.
No. Like you said, I think we said this last week. Sean McVay loves to ride one running back. And full disclosure, I was duped by Cam Akers. Drafted him, I think, in like the 5th or 6th, thinking that's going to be the guy.
Oof.
And that was just because of last year, seeing how he finished. And, prayers out to him. He tore, I think it might have been the same leg. I'm not sure that he tore his Achilles on or strained it or whatever. So that was a tough one for me. So I had to end up dropping Cam Akers, and I wasn't able to get Kyren Williams off of waivers. But I'm going to go with a duo, a stack that I don't think anybody had any type of inkling, unless you're a fan of college football and you watch it, in depth. But I think CJ Stroud and Tank Dell is one of the best stacks in terms of league winning. Like I could have just went with Tank Dell because he just had so many explosive weeks. But then when I was looking at Tank Dell and then looked at CJ Stroud, I was like,
most went on draft.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought before the season? Like
the Texans.
And I think the Kelsey and Mahomes stack is better, but like Stroud and Tank Dell would be close. Like because Stroud is a top.
They had a better year.
Stroud had a better year than
now. Mahomes and Kelsey is just consistency, and
it's more consistent.
Points,
and
but
Kelsey's a number 1 tight end. But
but in hindsight, I would take that other stack up.
Because CJ in half PPR, he had I don't know if Mahomes.
He misses him too.
Close. He had like a 41. He had a 41-point game, and I think like a 38-point game.
Yeah,
Stroud.
He had a couple.
So like if you're talking about relative to where because Tank is a waiver guy. Anybody drafted Tank, you watch college football. That's the only reason why you drafted him. He was a waiver guy. And CJ Stroud was definitely a late round flyer. Like, okay, let me take him as a QB2.
And he was waivers in most of my leagues.
He was waivers.
Most of my and some of my leagues were pretty.
He got drafted in my 14-team league. So I got to stop using. Because I keep thinking of everything through my 14-team lens. So like CJ did get drafted. Now Tank was on waivers and I got him, but like CJ got drafted like really late. But if you're looking at relative to where they got drafted or where they were taken off waivers, like, I mean, I just looking at the guys who have Stroud and I have Dell, but most of the guys who have Stroud in all my leagues, they're in the playoffs.
They're going to struggle in the playoffs if they're starting him though.
Yeah,
he's missing Tank
and
Nico.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough. So if Nick Mullins season, let's go. Just Jay Jeff's probably going to be playing this week. I mean. Addison, Hawkinson, let's see. But I'll go ahead and start off. I guess which one do you guys want to go with?
Go with MVP.
We can go MVP. Mine's easy. He's Hurts. He's automatic. He's always going to be the MVP every year. He's top 2 every year. Tush push. He's got the one play that no one can stop. Yeah. So he's a guaranteed touchdown every week. He's going to get you points. Now he's been struggling the last couple of weeks, but that's because he's went through a murderer's row of guys or teams he's been playing. But listen, in my 14-team league, which I'll go back to as an example, and even in my 10-team league, like Hurts is a 2nd-round pick. And if he keeps performing like this, I might just be screw it and take him in the 1st round. Like I'm just gonna be screw it. Take him in the 1st round. I'm telling you, man. He's guaranteed.
Easy now.
How many years? 1st round. It's been 3 years. It's been 2 years that he's been basically the top 2 quarterback. Okay. And you got to think about injury stuff too. Like we see it with running backs, bro. Like CMC, he's having an amazing year.
All right, would you
But
draft
with these running backs, they could be injured at any moment.
Okay.
I'm not taking them number 1 overall. No, I'm not doing that.
like if you're in
But
like
if
the
I'm like
10th?
if it's a 10-team league and I'm 8, I'm taking Hurts. I'll just take Hurts. Screw
See,
it.
but you can get him on the flip. Why not?
That's
at least
the thing is.
I don't know if I can. I don't know
Yeah,
if I
you will.
can.
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm telling you, I'm in a lot of leagues. You get at least if you really want Hurts, you can get him 15 or later in all my
In a 14-team league, where are you taking Hurts if you're the number 10 pick?
I've never been in a 14-team league, so I have no
That's
idea.
what I'm saying. You gotta, cause see, if you're in a 14-team league, even though nobody plays 14-team leagues, it's usually 10 or 12.
if I'm like the
but if you're in a
9th
14-team, you cannot risk and take. You cannot take Hurts. Like if you're 10 and below, like you can't take a risk. Say I'll get him on a turn. You're not gonna get him on a turn. Somebody's gonna take him in the second round, just like Josh Allen.
then hey, they might be overbuying. And honestly, I can't take a
I don't know. Like you say, Sean, there's a lot of good wide receivers in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
That are absolutely putting up money, especially this season. Like there's a lot of guys, and those guys you can't find.
Who would you rather have next year, Hurts or Josh Allen is the top 2? I'm trying to think of a receiver. I can't say AJ because he benefits AJ.
Yeah, I'm taking AJ Brown. Easy.
Okay, receivers I would take over Hurts, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill,
CD
Lamb. I'm on Ross St. Brown, the Sun God.
I'd take Justin Jefferson.
I'm taking the Sun God. I'm taking
Justin
Jefferson.
I probably would take
I'm taking Jamar Chase over him.
No, he's cooked. I'm good.
Oh,
he got overdrafted this year. He got overdrafted.
He's averaging 15 a game this year with Joe Burrow's out.
Who would you rather have?
Awesome.
Well, listen, he's a number 1, but to me, I just feel like Hurts. There's like receivers can't get injured. But Hurts is so automatic in terms of he doesn't get injured. He scores every week. He doesn't have any lows. Like he's had lately he has. But this
last week it was a low. He had 8 points.
The only low he had before this was the New England game. Every game he's been double digits and in the 20s. Like that's guaranteed. And every team that I know that has Hurts outside of like this 14-team league, because it's like you said to scale. All of the leagues you're in the playoffs with Hurts.
Right, but look at this. Look at what Patrick Mahomes has done in fantasy for the last 4 years.
Mahomes is not the running threat or the tush, but he's not an automatic either.
Okay, but he's also thrown for 50 touchdowns in a season, and Hurts will never come close to that.
That was an outlier.
It was.
Him and Josh Allen. I say Hurts and Josh Allen.
But here's my point. I drafted him this year thinking he was going to have an absolute monster year with Travis Kelce, and he has a mediocre year. It's going to happen where he has a mediocre year. And I just can't justify having that mediocre. I'd rather take the upside of a positional player than have a quarterback who's going through struggles because maybe he loses Jason Kelce.
That's huge.
Because he's going to retire soon.
And Roger Goodell gets rid of the tush push and makes it a legal play. Because if that happens, that will be a massive loss on the Philadelphia.
And Jason Kelce is the key to the tush push. If the tush push gets banned, that's besides the wayside. But once he retires, you don't realize how important a center position is to quarterback and the camaraderie, the cadence.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer, but he's getting up there, right? I think he's pushing 35.
He might be, yeah. This might be.
Because he's 2 years older than Travis. He's 2 years older than Travis. So I think, to your point, he might be happy with this podcast and just hanging out with the family at this point. So I'm not saying Hurts is going to be a bad quarterback, but I just can't justify drafting him in a top 20 position. If he drops,
like third round this year was the ideal spot. I got Hurts in 2 of my leagues in the third round.
Late second. He'll probably go between like 18 and 20. That's where I think he's.
I think my overall point is I'm never, like I say, if push comes to shove, I'm probably not taking Hurts in the first round. But it's like I'm not mad at anybody who overdrafts Hurts because he's been really good for me every year, like the last couple of years.
Where you have a guy,
and it's a position where they don't get hurt. Like there's still a chance a receiver could get hurt. There's no chance a quarterback gets hurt. No quarterback.
I don't know. This year, a lot of quarterbacks.
But a lot of those are like I think Joe Burrow was a fluke.
I don't know. At least 10 starting. At least 10 starting quarterbacks got injured this year. So no position is safe in football.
Herbert,
no position is safe.
Fields.
Oh yeah, Herbert.
It really all it takes is just breaking a finger, and you're out 4 weeks because it's your throwing hand. You're done. So you can get injured. It's football, man. You can get injured.
Yeah, football.
Every position can get injured in football,
except for kicker.
Facts.
And to me, we should eliminate kicker from fantasy, but that's another topic for another day. I'm sick of the kicker.
Matt Gay.
I'm so sick of the kicker.
Dude, I had in one league I had Matt Gay, and guess who I played against? What kicker?
Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah.
This dude had plus 24 points on me at the kicker position, and I lost by 5 points because of that.
Yeah,
I hope the kicker. I hope this makes people not draft Justin Tucker, so he has I can get him off of waivers or something like that. He has
that ain't gonna happen.
I don't know. Brandon Aubrey, man, he's coming for the throne. He has not missed a field goal kick all year. His story's incredible.
Never played in college.
Soccer, was a software engineer before he was in the NFL. It's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's got a wild story. Yeah,
him and Josh Dobbs need to hang out.
For real.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's easy. Zoo, I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, man. The Cheetah, man, Tyreek Hill, absolute MVP. I mean, the guy's got over 1,500 yards. He's got 12 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean, he's averaging pretty much a touchdown a game, over 120 yards a game. We saw the effect he has on that team in last night's game against the Titans. Man, he misses some time. They get out of rhythm. Tua looks like an absolute scrub without him. Now, to be fair, Vrabel always puts together a good defense. That's fair, but they have been tunneling teams into the air this year. It's hard to run against this team, even though Mosert did have a good game. And Tua still could not take advantage when he was getting open. So he missed a bunch of throws to Waddle. So Tyreek Hill, MVP, in my opinion, of the league and of fantasy football this year.
Yeah, no, I'm going with Tyreek Hill, man. Because I remember beginning of the year, we went this guy consensus OPOY, man. I don't know why I never draft my OPOY prediction.
Yeah,
I remember the year before was Justin Jefferson, and I had 0 shares of Justin Jefferson. And then this year it was Tyreek Hill, and I had 0 shares of Tyreek Hill. And I just feel like an absolute moron because it was so obvious. This guy talks about going for 2,000 yards. The whole scheme on offense is for Tyreek Hill. Like Tua, like he's completely reliant. He's a system quarterback with Tyreek Hill. Like he's just not that elite of a quarterback.
A little bit of Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm just kidding.
Oh, stop it. Like he made Tua relevant, man. Tyreek legitimately made Tua relevant because when he missed those snaps, that Dolphins offense was mediocre. The Mosert touchdowns was all because of the defense and the fumbling.
That's true.
And then they were like 8 yards away. Raheem runs it in. Okay, that happens.
But
offensively, they could not move the ball up the field without Tyreek Hill. Tyreek need to come back on a bum ankle because they're struggling with the Tennessee Titans. He comes in, gets 2 catches, each for 20 yards immediately. This guy's an absolute freak, and he's been consistent. And this is probably his best year in fantasy football this year. The amount of games when this guy has gotten over 20 fantasy points a game is absolutely absurd. I was saying, obviously, with Tyreek and CMC, I'm going with Tyreek based on his draft position. His average draft position was from 4. I would say the latest I've seen 4 to 8. That's the range you could have got Tyreek at. And if you're playing fantasy football in at least 2 leagues, you probably had an opportunity to draft Tyreek Hill. But you probably made, I don't know, if you didn't draft Tyreek Hill this bozo right here, taking Bijan Robinson, Bijan, the rookie of the year, who I was absolutely hyped on, thinking this guy's going to have an all-time season. But you could have got this guy in Tyreek Hill. Jesus, Tyreek is a free playoff, man.
You bought into those rookie running back seasons, Zoo. That's what you did.
I know. I was hoping for a Zeke season from Bijan, but he's definitely turned it on lately.
Yeah, he's had good games lately.
I feel future, the coach ever figures out that this guy is the best player and give him the ball in the red zone instead of Tyler.
They just get a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
Make Bijan explode even more.
Upgrade at Bijan's talent is there, and just the opportunity wasn't there. But Tyreek Hill, when you get talent and opportunity with that head coach, Tyreek Hill is my MVP, man, and it is absolutely beautiful to watch this guy play football.
Yeah,
he's going to go down as one of the greatest receivers to ever play the game.
And there's a lot of.
Could he be a number 1? Could it be a number 1 overall?
I think he can be.
Yeah,
it's going to be between him and CMC, and then if you just bet on the RB or the wide receiver, they're just a little up there in age now. CMC is actually getting into that age that. Maybe the cliff happens. You don't know if it'll be next year or maybe in 2 years or wherever, but you go with age. I take the wide receiver.
Go ahead, P. Bush.
I was gonna say we got a lot of busts this year to choose from, man. Jesus. Zoo, I'm gonna spare you, man, because Tony Pollard has turned it on a little bit.
Not gonna lie.
He turned late.
He's gotten some touchdowns lately.
And Bijan too, right?
Bijan's gotten touchdowns too.
Yeah, just a little too late, man. But I'm going to stay away from injuries, so no Chubb, no Jefferson.
Yeah,
I'm
no
actually going to
That's
include
fair.
Eckler in that too because he just missed three huge games, and then the bye week came right after. Just tough for him, man. Even though I do think he has been one of the bigger disappointments this year, Austin Eckler.
Yeah, massive.
And again, he did have a little bit of a spurt there of 20-point games, so it's kind of hard. I'm going to go with the guy that I thought was going to have a great year. I thought about Travis Kelce. They have a little bit similar stats. But I'm going with Davante Adams, man. I mean, you're seeing a guy that was drafted late first round this year. I think a lot of people thought that him and Jimmy G were going to have a nice little rapport. Nah, man, that offense is just sorry. They obviously had to fire their head coach. But Josh McDaniels, another round 2 of Josh McDaniels being a head coach, did not turn out well. Jimmy G, just happy to be in Vegas, man. Just happy to be making all this money. But man, Davante Adams, most late first round draft picks this year. He's going around 8 to 10. Had 0 production. He has gotten a lot of catches, but man, if you watch, they only throw him these 5-yard bubble screens half the time. He can't do anything about it because they know it's coming. Yeah. Nothing down the field. He's got a lot of catches, 76, less yards than Kelce at just around 800, and 4 touchdowns, man. 4 touchdowns over 12 games. He did miss 1 game. So, man, he wants out of there, man. He's going to the Jets. He's my biggest bust of the year.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
You mentioned a name that you say you're going to disregard and ignore because of injuries. But I'm giving him a break. I'm saying Austin Eckler, man. I'm saying Austin Eckler. Not gonna lie, I sort of called this. I told you guys, fade of the year, round 1. I was going to fade him. Round 2,
I didn't touch it.
I'll take Eckler. But round 1, there's too many good players in round 1. I'm not going to take an old running back because of even though he's built strong, he's still a smaller back relative to other guys. And Austin Eckler, I know he got injured. He started off extremely strong, but the injury, he had some nice games. But if you look at lately, they talking about splitting carries, benching him, seeing rolling with the hot hand with Joshua Kelly. That dude sucks. That dude cost me a playoff spot because he sucks so much, man, when he had a full-on carries. So when the head coach be like, okay, Austin Eckler looking kind of rough, and obviously this is just a disappointment of the Chargers overall. I was extremely high on Justin Herbert. Obviously he ends the season with an injury like that. It's just desperate. It is fitting for the Chargers season with all that talent, without that money that they spend. Justin Herbert ends in flames. Austin Eckler went from an elite running back to next year. Are you touching Austin Eckler?
No.
With his age, with this coaching system, they might get a new coach to figure out the offensive scheme.
Yep.
And just everything about this team. They might flip this whole team because they're just not getting any wins right now. And Austin Eckler, 1 yard to carry, 3 yards to carry, 3 yards to carry. His yards per carry just has not been efficient this year. They have to rely more on the air, even though they have no weapons on the outside. So they should be relying on Austin Eckler to carry the board. But Austin Eckler, he's used to be a pass catching monster. I haven't seen those ridiculous games with his 10 plus catches and 60, 70, 80 yards, get those little half PPR points that those cheap little points that you get with Austin Eckler, but he has been used in that way because his ability as a high flyer, you just didn't see that this year. And it happens, the age catches up. Obviously the injury is part of it, but it's just an overall very disappointing season for Austin Eckler. This guy was a consensus top 5 pick. I still remember a lot of fantasy analysts had Eckler 1 spot above CMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I was like, ooh, okay, let's take it easy. Austin.
I wonder if that had to do with injury, though. Wasn't CMC injured last year? So I guess that's why they were saying that.
Yeah, people were iffy about CMC. Yeah. And then the whole thing with Elijah Mitchell got a little more carries, but CMC is an absolute workhorse and had one of the best fantasy football seasons in his entire career. But that was the tier. Austin Eckler and CMC. Mm-hmm. So if you went going for the RB position, you took one of those guys in the first round, and you either had prosperity or you had death. And that massive decision, that one decision right there could cost you a fantasy championship right there. Mm-hmm. So my biggest bust of the year is a first rounder, Austin Eckler, man. So you can't be missing first rounds, and Eckler is the definition of a guy.
The thing with Davante for me, though, Zoo, is the opportunity to draft the other stud wide receivers that fell through the cracks, man. Because the running back position just got screwed across the board this year, man. You could have found the Kyron Williams, the Zach Mosses, right? get some of those running backs like Rashad White, a nice coming back
Rashad
this
White.
year. You know, so Devontae for me, you just passed on Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. I mean, that's just brutal to me, man. Sun God. No, not in our draft. He went 4th overall, but in general.
In general.
Yes. So no, that's why for me it was just brutal. Because he was, if you think about it, other than Tyreek, only Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson went before him. Usually. Maybe Cooper Kupp if someone was reaching.
Oh yeah. Oh Jesus.
That's actually ridiculous.
That's another.
That's a ridiculous comparison. Obviously, take out J. Jeff, but what Jamar Chase has been doing on top of, Tyreek Hill, obviously, and then all the guys behind him, he's just stuck right in the middle with the worst, man. I've struggled through Devontae all year, man. It's been brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Devontae Adams been
Cooper too. He I don't know how many years ago it was, but when he had that massive, I'm always wary of guys who have like record-breaking seasons. Like unless it's probably Tyreek Hill, that next year it's like it should kind of make you nervous. Like is that going to be repeatable? Like because if they break records in that year, like they still might be good, but you might be overdrafting because they're not. There's like you said,
no way they hit that again, right?
Yeah, they're not going to do that again. Like Tyreek is probably the only one that can maybe get close to like if Tyreek breaks 2K this year, he won't get 2K next year, but he'll probably get
1,600.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll still get really good numbers. But this pick for me is very personal because I had him on my team and I had to eventually drop him to waivers, and that's Dameon Pierce. His ADP, as most people like to say, was 43. So it's basically middle rounds. And the talk about him, even though you probably drafted in the middle rounds, was, look, guys, this is a solid, firm RB2 with RB1 potential because of the amount of carries he got the year before. He was a rookie back. The system coming in, like you got the head coach at Houston, I'm blanking on his name right now, but it's like DeMeco Ryans. Like you got a guy who wants to play tough defense and run the ball because he's got a rookie quarterback. Well, it's actually the opposite this year. CJ Stroud came in, gutting the ball, making a bunch of plays, and Dameon Pierce just fell by the wayside and took over. Devin Singletary, respect to him because he was part of that Bill system. The Bill system was the DNA, but like, come on, like, no, that's not how that's supposed to go.
You know what it is, Sean? It's the exact same thing as Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, man. Literally the exact same thing.
Yep.
Both lost their jobs. They both lost their jobs to backups, man, and they're both on my fantasy team, man. My RB2.
I'm telling you, man. If you didn't get all the waiver wire guys that have
hell yeah,
this year,
dude.
man. All the backup running backs.
And for me, it hurts even more because Devin Singletary was sitting on the waivers for me to get. I just was like stubborn. It was like Pierce is going to turn around. And he didn't. He never turned around. And it's no excuse because you have a quarterback who was throwing the ball all around the field.
Yeah, good offense this year.
Like, I know in the first couple of weeks, they were talking about the offensive line was banged up, but even when the offensive line kind of got back healthy and got to a point where they had most of their starters, at that point, Devin Singletary had taken over. So I was just like, between him and Pollard, like Pollard, I kind of always figured because of how explosive that offense was, he was going to eventually somehow figure it out, and he did towards the end of the season.
Yeah,
but
he's definitely
Pierce really, like I said, he got dropped. I couldn't trade him. I couldn't, like you say, you're trying to make a blockbuster trade, and you just throw him as like, a little filler. People wasn't biting, man. They didn't want him. So it's just like, you know what, put him on waivers. And you know what's actually hilarious? In that 14-team league that I drafted him in, he's actually on the bench of one of the guys who's like, I think, a number 2 seed. I'm like, go figure. And watch, he may have a game or two that may win him something because, he's in a flex spot. He's in a bind. He has to put him in a flex. It's like, I'll just put Pierce there. He'll go for 15 or 20 points. It's like, what the hell? Like,
the way it goes, man.
Yeah, that's how it goes in fantasy. So Pierce was one of the ones that really pissed me off the most. Like, that was one that was a tough one. And I think the only other one I had outside that was Watson, but he's always freaking hurt.
Yeah,
Christian Watson. That's the thing. He came in the season with a hamstring injury.
So I didn't really want to put him in there.
This is the one thing I want to know for all fantasy players, man. But if the season, when you do your draft, if you see that questionable, if you see that hamstring injury, do not draft.
Don't touch it.
I'm telling you, it is brutal. From Christian Watson to Cooper Kupp, it's just brutal. And the thing is, you have a warning.
Yeah,
so when you have that warning, okay, just take someone else. Even though these guys I'm saying you have these picks that you miss. Like these picks matter, especially like I had a league that I took Cooper Kupp in the second round. absolute disaster.
Yep.
Absolute disaster. Like, so when
you were probably thinking Cooper Kupp in the second round.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm just like, tell you. Like, I looked at that question. I'm like, yeah, whatever. No. When you see that questionable, get out. Get out.
Get out.
There's
Yeah, don't
better
touch
options. A lot of options that you can pick. Go for sure
Yeah.
things. Guys that come in, like, people are going to get injured. Like, that's part of the game. But when they come into the season injured, there's no excuse to taking those guys. There's zero excuse to taking those guys. So that's just a constant reminder. Like, if you see guys injured, just fade them. Just fade them. Unless like 10th, 11th. Okay, that's whatever. But if you're like from that round 1 to that round 7 range, these are the picks that you got it. This is the core of your team. You got to hit those guys.
Breece Hall was the only one, and it paid off this year.
Oh, yeah.
Breece Hall was the only person.
Yeah.
And,
he is called Breece
Taylor,
the Beast.
Kamara, right? Obviously,
Kamara was
suspension.
But still, like, just taking into warnings, right? He could have come out cold. Jonathan Taylor came out cold off of his, contract.
That's the thing. Like, those are a little different because they're sitting out games. Like, they're not coming in the season injured. So, those guys.
Well, Taylor was. He was coming off ankle surgery.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
And then he re-injured.
Yeah, I don't know. Re-injured. I don't know. That was a contract, like, finessing.
Well, but then he actually re-injured it. So,
here's a hot take I'm thinking about that I just thought of because we're just talking about draft position and, like, where you would take certain players. Is this the last year, like, tight ends go in the first round, like Travis Kelce?
No, I'm telling you, tight ends.
Do you think, like, for a while, not like, okay, there's gonna be a new tight end. Like, is this gonna be the last year and maybe even next year, but like this year, would this be the last year, like with this draft, that a tight end will go in the first round? Because as much as we love Laporta, he's not gonna be a first round pick.
No.
Kincaid won't be a first round pick. Hawkinson, I love him, but I just don't feel right taking him in the first round. I don't think, like, I don't know if there's gonna be a stretch in the future where you're like, oh yeah, that tight end first round. That guy.
Yeah, you need to be prime Travis Kelce or prime Robert Gronkowski or prime Jimmy Graham to be a first round pick.
Yeah.
If you're not those guys,
those are Hall of Famers pretty much.
You have to be
those are Hall of Famers.
You got to be a Hall of Fame tight end.
Jimmy Graham's still out here scoring touchdowns, Zoo.
Yeah, if you're not, you go take him.
And you got to prove that too. You can't, like, these guys that we're talking about, like Kincaid, Laporte, like, they got to prove it for a couple
for multiple seasons.
And his quarterback play as well. Like,
oh yeah,
do you trust the quarterbacks throwing? I guess I would probably trust Kincaid because I'd rather have Josh Allen over. I mean, what
Jared Goff.
Yeah. Mark Andrews sucks that he got hurt because I guess he had a
good season until he got injured. Yeah, he got a good season. He had a good season.
So that's just interesting. I was thinking to myself, like, because it pisses me off because I felt so good, even though in my 8-man league I'm going to the playoffs with number 2 seed. I felt so good when I took Kelce and Tyreek was picked before me. I was like, I got Kelce. And I was like, now looking back on it, it's like, God, I wish, like, it would have been reversed. I could have got Tyreek and he would have drafted Kelce first. Because now in that league, I would have been definitely a number 1 seed and probably like the prohibitive favorite.
Because last year, Kelce was as valuable, if not more, than Tyreek Hill last year. And Tyreek Hill still had a great year, but Kelce just scored so much.
Kelce is going to be
I think he's going to turn it up in the playoffs. I need him to turn him up.
Buyer beware. Like, this year he'll be fine, but buyer beware next year. He's going to be
he's in that Eckler.
I don't know where I would draft him next year. It's going to be spooky for him.
If he falls to late second, I'd probably take him.
Yeah, late second. Yeah,
early third.
But I'm not taking him like the first or second or early second. No, I'm not touching him.
No.
Hell, I might not even touch him in the first 2 rounds because is he even going to be, like, interested to play football next year? Like, especially if they, like, kind of flame out how the season's going. Like, I don't know. Because Kelce seems like the dude's like, all right, cool, podcast time.
Trey McBride's going to be the value tight end next year.
Oh, he's been awesome. And Kyler Murray loves him.
Yeah.
Loves him in the red zone.
Yep. I have to decide between him and Laporta every week.
Oh, man. That's a good problem to have.
It is.
But there's a lot of guys trying to pick
especially a tight end, man.
Yeah, trying to pick some bad tight ends. So that's a good luxury problem to have.
The Jawan Johnsons of the
league. Go for the Jawan Johnsons of the world, man. That's what some people are deciding.
So as you guys can see, man, fantasy playoffs are starting. It's an up and down process that most of us go through. But, it's always next year for the people who didn't make the playoffs. And if you're in the playoffs, I hope you lose because I'm not in the playoffs in my 14-team league, and that kind of pisses me off. So salute to you guys who are actually in the playoffs that actually watch the podcast that are in the 14-team league. Hope you guys, in all seriousness, do well. So I know there's a lot of money on the line, but going into our Week 15 bets.
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
I'm gonna let P. Bush start off. I don't think any of us had a good week, but P.
Nah,
Bush, you can
man.
start off with your bet.
Travis Kelce just got all the targets in the world, man, but he couldn't outscore Rashee Rice, Zoo, man. That's why you start both of them every week with Mahomes. One of the two is going to score. And then Jalen Hurts, man, just absolutely obliterated. We didn't even really talk too much about the Cowboys-Eagles game.
Oh, God.
Cowboys, I think, boys,
Slaughter.
I think we can agree they might be legit. So
that was the game. I've been waiting
You
for
said
that
it
one
last
game.
week.
I said it. If they beat the Eagles, and no brainer, it was complete domination. Even when the Eagles they couldn't score in the end zone, they were up 6-0. They hit them back in the mouth, and the game ended in the second quarter.
Hurts finally had a bad game. You know, obviously,
Dak might steal that MVP. I
Yeah,
know we love
he
Tyreek,
might
but he might
snag
steal it, bro.
Yeah, he's
you
the
know I'm not
Vegas
a Dak
favorite
guy,
right now. He's the Vegas favorite currently.
Yep. But yeah, and then obviously, so he just didn't have opportunities for the good old tush push, you know, to try and lock that in. So
what's it happening?
No, this week I'm actually going to go running back. I got Rashad White versus the Packers. This is a team that absolutely struggles against running backs in general and is even worse for wear against pass-catching running backs. We saw what Jalen Warren did to him, to the Packers defense. And Rashad White, you want to talk about Zoo? Another reason why Godwin's been having a quiet year? Rashad White is getting a lot of target share, man. Mike Evans is the big deep ball guy. Rashad White has pretty much become what Godwin was to Tom Brady on those dink and dunks for Baker Mayfield. So, you know, he just gets a lot of opportunities, and I think it could be kind of one of those high scoring games. Bucks, Packers, they're both vying for playoff potential. It could air it out a bit. So the other one is Raheem Mosert against the Jets, man. You might be a little stifled. Jets defense, man. They had actually one of the worst rush defenses in the league, Zoo. Mostert actually gashed him for 120 and a touchdown earlier this year. And I just think that the game script's going to play this way. I like A-Chain too. Mostert just happens to get the goal line carries a lot more. So you're betting on kind of that Demont, Jahmyr Gibbs exchange a little bit. And I just think that Tua, after last week, they're probably going to be like, all right, let's just play it safe, get the divisional win, and keep rolling, because here come the Bills. We're coming off a lucky win, and they're going to try and ride that high for that AFC East title. So the Dolphins need to win this week against the Jets.
Yeah.
And you know the Jets take that personally.
Yeah. After a collapse like last night. Like one of the biggest collapses in football I've ever seen.
It was worse than the Bears, too.
Actually,
I think it was.
I think it was. I think it was. Like, you got beat by Will Levis to D-Hop and King Henry in the end zone. Like, that was incredible comeback. But, yeah, not going to lie. Jared Goff, you were right. Jared Goff in the cold. Absolute booty cheeks, man. He was awful. He had he limited the sun god, man. The sun god didn't arrive that game. Like, this is
he had a big drop.
Yeah, he had a big drop. Like, the offense was just, they just couldn't move up the field. It's kind of weird.
Bears defense is actually
the Bears
good.
defense is it like kind of good or
sweat.
something? Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's that trade.
Yeah, it's kind of good. Like, the Bears defense, I was pretty impressed. Like, and obviously offensively, I got shout out to Justin Fields. I think it was his best game of the season. Like, him and DJ Moore's connection. Like, DJ Moore, this dude's an absolute stud, man.
He'd be a league winner.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, DJ Moore, like,
yeah.
the amount of quarterback malfunction he had to play with the backup quarterback, and obviously with him with Fields, they have a special connection. Like, they even used him in that one running game attack.
That was a nice fake.
Yeah, like DJ
He's
Moore.
like Debo light.
Yeah, he's mini
Literally.
Debo. He's mini Debo. He's built like short and stocky, extremely strong, gets open, good route runner. Like, as the number one receiver, like this guy's a potential draft pick next year. Like DJ Moore got 1,000 yards easy on a Bears offense that is not close to being great.
Yeah.
Like, he got it easy, man.
That doesn't get
So I got to shout out to DJ Moore, and I can't say a single bad thing. Like, Justin Fields was awesome. Jared Goff is awful. Like Demont did his little thing, man. I can't believe the lines. Like I remember we were talking like that fraudulent thing against the Bears, like blowing that, like barely beating the Bears, because I didn't count that as a win. Like they got lucky, the Bears choked or whatever. They got the W, but having him getting embarrassed like that, we got questions now. Because like, I know you love your Bears. They're not a good football team. They're a below average team. and they ass whooped the Lions. It was an
they
ass
whooped
whooping.
them.
Like I was watching, I was in disbelief, especially
I
because
just
of the
chalk it up to a
offense.
division game.
Yeah, it was a
I feel like division
game,
games,
but that was an ass whooping. It wasn't like a close field goal game. It was a domination.
It was their worst loss since the Ravens game.
Yeah, exactly.
That
And the
Ravens
Ravens are Super Bowl contender, but like,
exactly.
Like the Bears, ass whooping. So yeah, Jared Goff in the cold, never again, man, never ever again. I learned my lesson. But this week, like last week, I bet against a bad team. I guess the Bears aren't that bad of a team, I guess. So I'm going with the worst team in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers, baby.
There you go.
-3. I need to get back on track. I'm betting against Bryce Young and that offense and Jonathan Mingo and Adam Thielen and that dysfunctional offense. Miles Sanders barely playing. Like Chubba Hubba is the running back for them. Okay, he's solid. But that offense is an absolute disaster. They had to do some firing. Like Bryce Young, like as a rookie, obviously, I'll give rookie breaks because he doesn't have much to work with. They got rid of his number one receiver. Like the offensive line is not impressive. Like the defense is actually kind of good. Like it's like kind of good, but the offense is just absolutely brutal. So I don't think the Atlanta Falcons defense will have any problems with them. And I feel like Atlanta, like they're getting to their best players now. Like Drake London had one of his best games of the season. And this guy's an absolute dude. Drake London's an absolute stud. And this guy was on any other team, and that's a good offensive with a good quarterback, he would be up there as an elite wide receiver one. Like he's just limited.
I'll have the Bears trade the first overall pick to Atlanta so they could take Caleb Williams if you give me Drake London back.
Oh, gee. Oh, wow. You would trade the number one pick for Drake London?
Pair Drake London with DJ Moore and Justin Fields? And then you spend your own draft pick and to get whatever else you get? Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
You mean a second first round pick, right?
Yeah.
The second first. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, okay. Okay. That's interesting. Like Drake, this guy's an absolute.
He would be a perfect compliment. I feel like.
Yeah, as a deep threat, as a target guy, as a red zone guy, like DJ Moore's a smaller guy, Drake London, bigger guy. So they're getting him the ball. But even Kyle Pitts got 57 yards. So shout out to the best players on the Falcons. Like they dropped 25 points against the Buccaneers defense, which I think is pretty solid defense. So putting up 25 against them. So I just feel like the Atlanta Falcons offensively is just what leaps and bounds better than this Panthers. Like this Panthers team is hard to watch. It's like
it's
a
good
good
safe bet, Zoo. Trying to get back on track.
I need to get back on track. I'm on a 2-game losing streak, man. I need to get back on track right now. So I'm betting against Bryce Young, and I'm betting on my boy Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and these offensive weapons to score 3 more points. Just 3. Just 3 more points than this Panthers team. Because this Panthers team struggles to get the 10 points. So come on, give me a 14-10 victory, man. Give me a 14-10 victory. That's all I'm asking for.
There you go.
I ain't asking for much.
You need Young Wei Koo to come through, man. Young Wei Koo to come through.
Oh, Young Wei Koo, man. But one of the best kickers in the NFL, had the highest field goal percentage makers in the NFL after Justin Tucker missed that field goal. So shout out to Young Wei Koo. Get it done for me, please.
All right, Sean.
Speaking of the Lions and the Bears and how that game went, I too was watching the Ravens and the Rams and felt good about it the entire game because the Rams was going up and down the field, and then I kind of thought I had it in the bag when I think it's Lindenbaum, whatever, hiked the ball and it went out through the back of the end zone. I was like, yeah,
wow, yeah.
The Ravens, they ain't they're I don't know what
Lamar
they're thinking about, but they're not thinking about winning this game. Yeah, they're done. And even going into overtime, like I think the Ravens went 3 and out, and I was just like, man, the Rams are just going to drive down, get in field goal position, and win the game. That didn't happen, and then the Ravens, of course, have the I think it was a punt return.
Yeah, punt return.
It had to be a punt return. Had to be a punt return. It could be a kick return.
It was the only way.
Return, and yeah, I saw that guy go up the sideline, and it just felt like after he broke like the 3rd tackle, and he was kind of still in slow motion. I was like, "There's no way he makes it to the end zone," and he just ends up. Coasting down the side of the sideline, Baltimore Ravens sideline, and scored the touchdown. I was just like, you know what? I wasn't even too mad at that because I kind of figured with those odds, I think it was like a 7.5 point spread, 290, 295. Like I had a chance. So this week, I'm kind of going to stray away from the 290s, 300s because I didn't like any of them, and I'm going to pick on the Lions, man. Denver, they've won 3 out of the last 4. They're on the road. It's in a dome. I don't know, man. Lions are reeling. They're reeling. Wow. I think a lot of people gave them too much praise. And you know what the Lions remind me of? They remind me of and this is to our female audience, this is not me trying to be misogynistic, but it's like it's the really ugly girl in high school who was like talked about. People didn't really care how she looked. Then she went to college, in her freshman year, she like turned into like one of the hottest girls on campus. It's like, okay, now how do you deal with all this newfound fame? Like you got all this attention, and that's what the Lions were. They got humbled in that Ravens game, and it was like, okay, that should have been we're not as good as we think we are. Let's regroup and play well. Then you had that dud of a performance on Thanksgiving. Like I don't even know what that was. Like, what are we doing? I know it's the Packers, but Jordan Love I guess his coming out game, whatever. And now, like you say, like I just said earlier, it's a division game. It's the Bears, but if you are a team that's trying to make the playoffs, you handle that game. You win that game on the road and be like, okay, let's start figuring out how we're going to end this season and play in the playoff. Now, I wouldn't say like the Lions are fraudulent, but they are showing signs of having fraud tendencies. And let me tell you, man, Sean Payton, he came in. It was rough when it first started, but now he's got Russell playing. And like last year, I understand Denver, like as a team, didn't play well, and Russell was kind of okay. But this year, Russell, I think, is playing good. I don't think he's a superstar quarterback, but Sean Payton's got that all. Cortland Sutton making big catches. Like he's trying to prove his case as the best receiver on that team.
He reminds me of like some of those catches, very Mike Evans-esque, like 2 hands up, like just Russell Wilson just chucks it up there beautifully.
Yeah.
He's had an awesome season.
He's got like 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns.
10. He's like the first Bronco to have 10 touchdowns in a while.
He just gets like 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown every week, man. 14 a game.
He's their number one. They have a decent running game. The defense is really good, which I think is Jerry Jeudy is.
Oh,
yeah.
Steve Smith,
he
man.
Steve Smith
was right
before. Yeah.
Steve Smith.
He might be a candidate for a new situation. He might just need to go somewhere else, figure it out, see what they can get for him, which it won't be much probably.
Bears will take him as a wide receiver 3. We can pay him.
Chase Claypool.
Bag of chips.
Yeah, I'll give you a 6-rounder for him.
Yeah.
But I don't like what I see from the Lions right now. I know it's at home, but I feel like this game being indoors, that helps with the team. I guess you say the opposing team coming into Detroit. I'm not really big on Detroit's home field advantage. I don't think it's great. And I just like momentum, man. Listen, if you're the Broncos, you are hungry because watching that Chiefs game and you're like, wait a minute, we're 1 game behind the Chiefs and we still got a few weeks to go and we don't know what the Chiefs mindset is right now. You got Patrick Mahomes busting his helmet. You got Kelsey not caring. You got Andy Reid trying to talk about,
a lot of complaining.
It's a lot of stuff going on in KC, and Denver is kind of just like, okay, well, if we handle our business, we'll see what KC does, and who knows, man? They could maybe sneak the division, but they need this game.
Sean, I'll echo your statement to our female listeners, but man, I don't know. Is there some tie with Taylor Swift going on here, man? Little distraction, man. I don't know.
I would tread lightly though, people, because the Swifties, they are.
The Swifties are there, man.
They'll come at you, man. They eat you up.
For real.
What are you gonna say? Hey, I'm just saying. She was at the game in Buffalo.
I agree.
They're at Arrowhead.
I agree. It's a little bit of, I would say it's a little bit of a distraction, and the NFL doesn't want to hear that.
That's what Kadarius Toney was looking at.
We got to talk about that play, man, because that play, that penalty. What did you guys think about it? Because I hear a lot of complaining, but I just see a dude offsides and the refs making a call. But I don't know.
Yeah, it was
obviously the refs missed that call a lot. Yeah, I don't know. These are grown men, man. These ain't kids.
But the thing, didn't he check and be like, "I'm good"? No, didn't he do that?
No,
he didn't. Andy Reid said he didn't check. Right.
Oh yeah, that kills.
He's kind of a knucklehead.
I can't really. Yeah, I can't. And the thing about Toney too is there was one play. I don't know if he. I think it was Kelsey that caught the pass. And I saw I'm pretty sure it was Toney. Like Toney was like visibly upset. Yeah. I was just like, dude, you can't do that when you've had the season you've had in terms of costing your team games. You can't be throwing your hands up and going crazy when like you can't even line up on sides and catch a ball. Like, I don't know. It's like I've been saying, man, Kansas City needs real receivers. Like this whole makeshift of like, I love Rashid Rice. He's going to be a nice option, but next year they should go next
big
2
boy
rounds,
hunting for a number
trade
one.
Up for it. Yeah, go get a number 1 receiver.
Get yourself a Drake London type.
Yeah,
just
Mahomes
open
is the
alpha.
only one. Him and Lamar are the only one that are not operating with ideal like number one receivers. Like, what are we doing? Like, get the guy number one receiver. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's your franchise quarterback. Like, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's like, yo, do you want this tackle or do you want Jamar Chase? No, I want the guy I threw the ball to at LSU that won me a national championship. And guess what? It worked out.
Oh, man.
Like, you need to go get a
Super
stud
Bowl
number one for
appearance.
Mahomes.
Mhm.
And there's no
Marvin
disrespect to
Harrison
Kelsey, but it's
Jr.
like, yeah. And like you say, some people be like, well, they had a number one with Tyreek. They should have never got rid of Tyreek. You know, because I remember conversations, and and I don't want to go on a rant, but I remember conversations of like when Mahomes took that massive deal. It's like, well, if you look at how the deal's structured, they were telling me like, we're going to be able to, these people that you got, you're going to be able to, however the contract structure, we're going to be able to take care of the guys on the team. Well, guess what? Tyreek wanted the money that he wanted. They're like, get out of here. We don't care. And like I said, they won a Super Bowl, so it's a mute point. But yeah, they should have cared because they can get with Tyreek on that team right now.
Oh,
they're not 8-4. They're not 8-4.
Oh, they're 10-2 at least.
Yeah, at least. So, yeah, I'm and I don't know how we got in the Kansas City rant, but going back to the Lions and the Broncos, give me the Broncos plus 190, man. Plus 190.
I like those.
They're none of the
They're
200,
winning. They're
none
winning.
of the 230s. Yeah, and I actually think it's more than last 3 out of 4. Like, it might be 4 out of 5.
No,
like
6 out of 7.
They're a little bit overall.
6 out of 7.
They're on a roll.
Incredible.
They're on a roll. So we'll see. Trust in Russ, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
more of my trust is in Sean Payton. I like Sean Payton. He's a good coach. He knows how to. He knows how.
And their defense turned it around after being embarrassed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a big thing.
That is
God,
impressive.
I forgot. Yeah, the 70 point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something that they actually get in the playoffs and like? What if they actually end up playing the Dolphins somehow? Wouldn't that be crazy? And it's like,
Wow.
they
I
get
can
revenge.
imagine
That would be
storylines
talk about a storyline. Now that would be a script. You want to talk about
NFL
a
script right there.
If they got back in the playoffs and played the Dolphins, that is the ultimate NFL
Absolutely.
script. Yeah, that would be a
That's
script.
funny.
So we'll see with that. But that's our week 15 bets. Make sure you guys tune in to bullheaded_pod. We talk everything but sports. Like I said, NBA, we just had the in-season tournament. It's more back to regular season games, but we'll be talking about that because Christmas games are coming up. Like I said, NFL playoffs are getting ready to start, so tune into that. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts is where you can listen to all of our social media and platforms. With now that I'm thinking, I'm rambling right now. Google Podcasts. If you're on Google Podcasts, it's December 12th. They will be running out of it. I don't have another option if you're on Google, so just download Spotify, download Apple. Those are two. I mean, I guess you couldn't download Apple, but download Spotify because I know you can get that on Google if you have like an Android. But also listen to or watch us on Quantro Knows with YouTube. And, I would also say on TikTok, I'm kind of starting to get the podcast on there. It's another medium to where we can listen to it. Trying to still figure out the RSS feeds. I think that's what they're called. I'm trying to figure that out on TikTok to where you can potentially listen to the podcast on TikTok. TikTok's a little bit ahead of the game in terms of how they're doing stuff with social media and all the audio platforms. So make sure you tune into that at Bullheaded 864. And for me, Zoo and Peebush, we are out.